The rain hammered against the hospital window as I stared at my reflection, a father who could speak no more, yet had so much left to say. 3 bullets. 1 choice. I saved her life, but lost my voice forever. Now, how do I tell my daughter I love her? Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. The bitter November wind cut through my jacket as I stood outside Riverside Elementary School, waiting for my daughter Emma. Being a single father was never easy, but seeing her smile made every struggle worth it. My name is David Chen, and 3 years ago, my wife Sarah lost her battle with cancer, leaving me alone to raise our 8-year-old angel. I worked as a security guard at Sterling Industries, one of the biggest tech companies in the city. The pay was decent, enough to cover Emma's school fees and our small apartment. Life wasn't glamorous, but we had each other, and that was everything. That evening, as Emma ran toward me with her backpack bouncing, I noticed the sadness in her eyes. "Daddy, the kids at school were talking about the father-daughter dance next month," she said softly. "I told them we couldn't go because we don't have money for a fancy dress." My heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. I knelt down and hugged her tight. "Baby girl, we'll make it work. I promise you'll have the most beautiful dress at that dance." Emma looked up at me with those innocent brown eyes. "Really, Daddy? You mean it?" "I mean it with all my heart." But I had no idea how I would keep that promise. We barely made ends meet each month. The medical bills from Sarah's treatment still haunted us. I needed to find extra work, and fast. I was doing my usual rounds on the executive floor when I heard raised voices coming from the CEO's office. The door was slightly open, and I could see Victoria Sterling, the CEO and founder's daughter who had recently taken over the company. She was only 28 but had already earned respect for her brilliant mind and kind heart. "You can't do this, Richard." Victoria's voice trembled with anger. "This company is my father's legacy. I won't let you destroy it." Richard Morrison, the chief financial officer, stepped closer to her menacingly. "Your father is gone, Victoria. Things are changing. Either you sign these documents and give me controlling shares, or you'll regret it." "I'll never sign. Get out of my office." Richard's face turned red with rage. "You'll pay for this decision. I promise you that." As he stormed out, I quickly stepped aside, pretending to check the security monitors. Richard shot me a hostile glare before disappearing into the elevator. Something about his threat felt real, dangerous. I should have reported the conversation, but I was just a security guard. Who would listen to me? Still, the protective instinct inside me stirred. Victoria had always been kind to the staff, remembering names, asking about families. She didn't deserve whatever Richard was planning. Working at a warehouse from midnight to 5 in the morning meant I barely slept 3 hours a day. My body ached constantly, but every time I felt like giving up, I thought of Emma's face when she talked about that dance. I had saved almost enough for her dress. At Sterling Industries, I noticed Victoria looked exhausted. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and she seemed constantly on edge. I later learned from other security guards that Richard had been spreading rumors, trying to turn the board of directors against her. He wanted complete control of the company. One evening, as I was doing my final rounds, Victoria was still in her office at 9 p.m. I knocked gently on the door. "Miss Sterling? The building will be locked soon. Do you need anything before I secure the floor?" She looked up from her papers, surprised someone was still there. "David, right? You have a daughter, Emma?" I was shocked she remembered. "Yes, ma'am. That's right. You told me once she loves drawing. How is she?" The fact that this powerful CEO remembered such a small detail about my life touched me deeply. "She's wonderful, thank you for asking. Growing up too fast." Victoria smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Cherish every moment. My father always said that family is the only thing that truly matters. I didn't understand until he was gone. There was such deep sadness in her voice. Before I could respond, her phone rang. She answered, and her face went pale. What? When? Is he okay? She grabbed her coat, hands shaking. I'm coming right now. Miss Sterling, what happened? I asked, concerned. My younger brother, Nathan. He's been in an accident. I have to go to the hospital. Let me drive you. You're too upset to drive safely. She hesitated only for a second before nodding. Thank you, David. Not romance, nothing like that. But a connection, human to human, one person in pain recognizing another who understood loss. She told me about her father, how he built Sterling Industries from nothing, how he died suddenly 6 months ago, leaving her to fight off vultures like Richard Morrison. I told her about Sarah, about the fear I carried every day that I wasn't enough for Emma, that I was failing as both mother and father. You're not failing, Victoria said firmly. The fact that you worry about it proves you're a good father. Emma is lucky to have you. Those words meant more than she could know. At the hospital, Nathan's injuries were minor, a broken arm and some bruises from a car accident. But Victoria broke down in the waiting room, all the pressure and stress finally erupting. I sat beside her quietly, offering the only comfort I could, presence. I can't lose him too, she whispered. Nathan is all I have left. And Richard, he's destroying everything my father built. I don't know how to stop him. You're stronger than you think, Miss Sterling. Your father knew that. That's why he left the company to you. She looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. Call me Victoria. And thank you, David. For everything. It was beautiful, pink with sparkles that caught the light, making it shimmer like magic. When Emma tried it on, she spun around in circles, laughing with pure joy. Daddy. I look like a princess. You are a princess, baby. My princess. She hugged me so tight. You're the best daddy in the whole world. That moment was worth every sleepless night, every aching muscle, every sacrifice. This was what being a father meant. But I was exhausted. Working 2 jobs was destroying my health. I started making mistakes at work, nearly falling asleep during my shifts. I knew I couldn't continue like this, but the father-daughter dance was just 2 weeks away. I had to hold on just a little longer. At Sterling Industries, the tension had escalated dramatically. Richard had convinced several board members to call for a vote of no confidence in Victoria's leadership. The meeting was scheduled for next Friday. If she lost, Richard would take control of the company, and knowing his reputation, he would strip it for parts and sell everything. Victoria was fighting back, working 20-hour days to prove her value, to show the board her vision for the company's future. I admired her determination, even as I worried about her health. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was scheduled to leave early to pick up Emma from school, but I needed to do one final check of the executive floor. As I approached Victoria's office, I heard voices again. This time, they were arguing violently. You've left me no choice, Victoria. Richard's voice was filled with venom. If you won't step down willingly, I'll make you disappear. You're threatening me. I'm calling security right now. Security? You mean that pathetic single father? He can't help you. No one can. My blood ran cold. I burst through the door just as Richard pulled out a gun. Everything happened in slow motion. Victoria's eyes went wide with terror. Richard's finger moved toward the trigger. And I didn't think, I just moved. I threw myself between them just as the gun fired. The first bullet hit my throat. The pain was unlike anything I had ever experienced. I fell to my knees, blood pouring from my neck. But I stayed upright, blocking Victoria from Richard's aim. He fired again. The second bullet hit my shoulder. Get down. I tried to yell to Victoria, but only a horrible gurgling sound came out. Victoria screamed and dropped behind her desk. Richard fired a third shot, hitting my chest. I collapsed, my vision blurring. The last thing I saw before darkness took me was Richard running away, and Victoria's terrified face appearing above me. David. Oh God, David. Stay with me. Help. Somebody help. I tried to tell her to check on Emma, to make sure my daughter knew I loved her. But no words would come. Only blood, spilling from my throat, stealing my voice forever. Emma's small hand was wrapped around mine, her head resting on the bed beside me. She was asleep, her face stained with dried tears. My sister Margaret sat in the corner, and when she saw my eyes open, she gasped. David. Oh, thank God. Emma, honey, wake up. Your daddy's awake. Emma's eyes fluttered open, and when she saw me looking at her, she burst into tears. Daddy. Daddy, you're okay. I tried to speak, tried to tell her I loved her, that everything would be all right. But when I opened my mouth, no sound came out. Nothing. Just air, silent and empty. Panic seized me. I tried again and again, but my voice was gone. The bullet had destroyed my vocal cords. The doctors later confirmed what I already knew in my heart, I would never speak again. Emma didn't care. She climbed onto the bed carefully and hugged me gently, crying into my shoulder. I thought I lost you, Daddy. I thought you were going to heaven like Mommy. I held her with my good arm, tears streaming down my face. I had survived, but at what cost? How could I be a father without a voice? How could I read her bedtime stories, sing her songs, tell her I loved her? Her eyes were red from crying, and she carried a huge bouquet of flowers. When she saw me awake, she broke down completely. David, I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. You saved my life, and you. She couldn't finish the sentence. I reached for the notepad the nurse had left me and wrote, not your fault. Is Richard caught? Yes. He's in jail, charged with attempted murder for both of us. The police found evidence that he had been embezzling millions from the company. He thought if he killed me, he could cover his tracks. She wiped her tears. David, I owe you everything. You gave up your voice for me. I can never repay that debt. I wrote, how is Nathan? She smiled through her tears. He's fine, fully recovered. He wanted to come today, but the doctors said only family for now. She hesitated. David, I want to help you and Emma. Please, let me do something. I shook my head and wrote, just doing my job. No, she said firmly. You went far beyond your job. You're a hero. Please, let me help with medical bills, Emma's education, anything you need. I thought about my pride, about refusing charity. But then I thought about Emma, about her future, about how I couldn't work 2 jobs anymore. Maybe never work at all. I nodded slowly and wrote, thank you. Learning to live without a voice was torture. Simple things I took for granted became impossible challenges. I couldn't call Emma's name when she was in another room. I couldn't warn her if something was dangerous. I couldn't comfort her with words when she had nightmares. I learned sign language basics, but Emma was only 8, she struggled to remember all the signs. We developed our own system of communication, mixing simple signs with written notes and facial expressions. It was clumsy and frustrating, but we made it work. Emma was incredibly brave. She never complained, never acted like my disability was a burden. Instead, she became my voice. When we were in public and I needed to communicate with someone, she would read my notes and speak for me. My 8-year-old daughter became my translator, my connection to the speaking world. It broke my heart and filled it with pride at the same time. The father-daughter dance was 3 days away. Emma's beautiful dress hung in her closet, but she hadn't mentioned the dance once since I came home from the hospital. I knew why. She thought I couldn't take her anymore, that dancing without being able to talk would be too hard for me. But I had made her a promise. And I intended to keep it. She brought gifts for Emma, art supplies, books, and a beautiful necklace with a small butterfly pendant. Emma loved butterflies. Victoria had remembered. She also brought documents for me to sign. Sterling Industries was setting up a trust fund for Emma's education, covering everything through college. My medical bills would be fully paid. And I would receive full salary and benefits for life, even though I could never return to work as a security guard. This doesn't even begin to cover what you did for me, Victoria said. But please accept it. Let me do this for Emma's future. I wrote on my notepad, too much. Can't accept. Emma, who had been playing with her new art supplies, looked up. Daddy, Ms. Victoria is trying to help us. Mommy always said it's okay to accept help from friends. Friends. That word struck something deep inside me. Victoria wasn't just the CEO anymore. Through tragedy and pain, she had become our friend. I nodded and signed the documents. Before Victoria left, Emma hugged her tightly. Thank you for saving my daddy. The doctor said he saved you first, but you saved him too by calling for help so fast. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. She knelt down to Emma's level. Your daddy is the bravest man I've ever met. And you're just like him, brave and kind and strong. He should be so proud of you. He is proud, Emma said simply. I can see it in his eyes when he looks at me. Daddy doesn't need words to tell me he loves me. I just know. I dressed in my only suit, and Emma wore her sparkling pink dress. She looked absolutely beautiful, growing up right before my eyes. As we drove to the school, I saw her fidgeting nervously. I gently touched her hand and raised my eyebrows in question, our sign for, what's wrong? Daddy, the other kids, they might stare at us because you can't talk. Some of them already asked me about it at school. They asked if you're different now. I pulled the car over and took out my phone. I typed, I am different now. But some things never change. I'm still your daddy. I still love you more than anything in this world. And I'm so proud to be here with you tonight. Are you ashamed of me? No. Emma said immediately, tears in her eyes. Never, Daddy. I love you just the way you are. I just don't want people to be mean to you. I typed, let them stare. Let them talk. As long as I have you, nothing else matters. She hugged me tight, and we continued to the school. Fathers and daughters filled the dance floor, laughing and spinning to the music. When we walked in, people did stare. I could feel their eyes on us, hear the whispers. But Emma held her head high, gripping my hand tightly. We found a table, and Emma introduced me to her friends. Their fathers shook my hand, and I could see recognition in their eyes. They had seen the news stories about the shooting. One man, Mr. Thompson, spoke to me. My daughter Katie talks about Emma all the time. Says she's the kindest girl in class. Now I know where she gets it from. He paused. What you did, taking those bullets, that's real heroism. We're honored to have you here. I nodded my thanks, emotion swelling in my chest. Then the music started, and Emma pulled me onto the dance floor. At first, I was stiff and uncomfortable. Dancing without music that I chose, without being able to hear Emma's laughter and commentary, felt wrong. But then I looked down at her face, glowing with pure happiness, and nothing else mattered. We danced to song after song. Emma didn't care that I couldn't sing along or whisper jokes in her ear. She just held on to me and smiled, and that was enough. More than enough. Halfway through the evening, the DJ made an announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special father-daughter pair here tonight. David Chen, who recently showed incredible courage, is here with his beautiful daughter Emma. Let's give them a round of applause. The entire gymnasium erupted in cheers and applause. People were standing, clapping, some wiping away tears. Emma looked up at me, and I saw tears streaming down her face, but she was smiling. "I'm so proud to be your daughter, Daddy," she whispered. I couldn't respond with words, but I didn't need to. I pulled her close and held her tight as the music played around us. In that moment, I realized something profound. I had lost my voice, but I hadn't lost my ability to communicate love. Every hug, every smile, every moment I spent with Emma spoke louder than words ever could. Victoria stayed involved, becoming like family to us. She visited regularly, often bringing Nathan along. He was 18 and reminded me so much of what I hoped Emma would become: kind, thoughtful, grateful for second chances. Emma thrived. With the trust fund securing her future, she could focus on her art and her studies without worry. She won a school art competition, and I attended the ceremony, beaming with pride even though I couldn't cheer out loud. I started volunteering at a community center, teaching self-defense classes to single parents. I couldn't speak, but I could demonstrate, and Emma often came along to translate my written instructions. We made a good team. The silence of my new life was difficult, but I learned to hear in different ways. I heard Emma's love in the way she kissed my cheek every morning. I heard her laughter in the vibrations when she giggled next to me. I heard the world not with my ears, but with my heart. 6 months after the shooting, Victoria invited us to a special ceremony at Sterling Industries. When Emma and I arrived, the lobby had been transformed. A large crowd filled the space: employees, board members, and even news cameras. Victoria stood at a podium, looking nervous but determined. 6 months ago, a man made a choice, Victoria began. He could have walked away. He could have called for backup. He could have protected himself. Instead, David Chen threw himself in front of bullets meant for me, sacrificing his voice to save my life. She paused, emotion threatening to overwhelm her. David is more than a hero. He's a reminder of what it means to be truly good, truly selfless. He's a father who works multiple jobs to buy his daughter a dress. He's a man who sees someone in danger and acts without hesitation. He's proof that courage isn't about being fearless, it's about being terrified and doing the right thing anyway. Victoria stepped aside, and a large curtain behind her was pulled back, revealing a bronze statue. It was me, depicted in the moment I threw myself between Victoria and Richard, arms outstretched protectively. At the base, a plaque read, "David Chen, the Silent Guardian. A father's love knows no limits." I stared at the statue, overwhelmed. This was too much, too grand. But then Victoria continued. "This statue will stand in our lobby forever, reminding everyone who enters Sterling Industries about true courage. But that's not all." She turned to address me directly. "David, I'm also announcing the creation of the David Chen Foundation. This foundation will support single parents facing hardship, providing financial assistance, childcare support, and job training. Your sacrifice will help countless families for generations to come." Emma was crying beside me, and I pulled her close. I took out my phone and typed a message, which Emma read aloud through her tears. "I'm not a hero. I'm just a father who loves his daughter. That's what any parent would do. But I'm grateful for this honor, and I hope the foundation helps families who are struggling like we were. Thank you, Victoria, for turning my pain into something beautiful." The crowd erupted in applause again. People were crying, strangers reaching out to shake my hand or hug me. It was overwhelming and humbling. That evening, as I tucked Emma into bed, she looked at me seriously. "Daddy, do you wish you could still talk?" I thought about her question carefully, then picked up the notepad we kept by her bed. I wrote, "Sometimes I miss my voice. I miss singing you lullabies and reading stories the way I used to. But losing my voice taught me something important: love doesn't need words. Every time I hug you, every time I smile at you, every time I'm there for you, I'm telling you I love you. Do you understand? Emma nodded. I understand, Daddy. I hear you even when you're quiet. Your love is loud. My heart swelled with so much emotion I thought it might burst. I kissed her forehead and wrote one more thing, you're my everything, baby girl. Never forget that. I won't, Daddy. And you're my everything too. Emma was 10 now, growing more confident and artistic every day. She had started a blog where she wrote about our life, about living with a father who couldn't speak, about finding joy in silence. It had gained thousands of followers, and she used the platform to raise awareness about different forms of communication and disability. The David Chen Foundation was thriving. We had helped over 200 families, providing support that made real differences in their lives. I volunteered at the foundation several days a week, using my experience to guide others through their struggles. Victoria had become one of the most successful CEOs in the industry. She credited her success to the wake-up call she received that terrible day. She had learned to focus on what truly mattered, to lead with compassion, and to never take life for granted. She remained close to Emma and me, more like family than friends. Nathan had started college, studying social work. He said that seeing his sister almost die and watching me sacrifice everything made him want to dedicate his life to helping others. I was proud of the young man he had become. My life wasn't easy. There were still days when the frustration of not being able to speak made me want to scream, which was its own kind of cruel irony. There were moments when I grieved for the voice I had lost, for the simple pleasure of saying, I love you, out loud. But there were more moments of profound joy. Watching Emma grow into an incredible young woman. Seeing families helped by the foundation. Knowing that my sacrifice had meaning, had created ripples of positive change that spread far beyond that one terrible moment. On the 3rd anniversary of the shooting, Victoria organized a small private ceremony. Just Victoria, Nathan, Emma, Margaret, and me. We gathered at Victoria's family home, in the garden where her father used to spend time. She had planted a tree there in my honor, a cherry blossom that bloomed beautifully each spring. David, Victoria said, I've been thinking about that day constantly for 3 years. I've replayed it in my mind thousands of times. And I keep coming back to one question, why? Why did you do it? You barely knew me. I was just your boss. I pulled out my phone and typed for several minutes. When I finished, Emma read my words aloud. That morning, before I came to work, Emma had asked me what it means to be a good person. She had a classmate who was being bullied, and she wanted to know if standing up for others was worth it, even if it might cost her friendships. I told her that being good isn't about the easy choices, it's about the hard ones. It's about doing what's right even when it's difficult or dangerous. When I saw Richard pointing that gun at you, I didn't think about heroism or sacrifice. I just thought, this is wrong, and I can stop it. And then I moved. Later, when I realized I might die, my only thought was Emma. I didn't want her to grow up without either parent. But then I thought, what kind of father would I be if I taught her to do what's right, but then didn't do it myself when it mattered most? I couldn't let you die, Victoria. Not when I had the power to save you. That's not heroism. That's just being human. Victoria was crying openly now. You gave up your voice to save me. How can I ever be worthy of that sacrifice? I typed again, and Emma read, you already are. The foundation, the way you lead your company with compassion, the way you've been there for Emma and me, that's how you honor what I did. You're living a life that matters. That makes everything worth it. She leaned against me, and I wrapped my arm around her. We didn't need to speak, we had moved beyond words long ago. I thought about Sarah, wondering if she could see us now. I hoped she was proud, hoped she knew I had kept my promise to love and protect our daughter no matter what. Emma suddenly sat up and looked at me. Daddy, I wrote something for you. Can I read it? I nodded, curious. She pulled out a folded piece of paper from her pocket and began to read, my daddy is the bravest man in the world, but not because he took bullets. He's brave because he wakes up every day and faces a world that doesn't understand him. He's brave because he loves me even though he can't say the words out loud. He's brave because he turned tragedy into something beautiful. My daddy taught me that real strength isn't about being the loudest person in the room, it's about being the kindest, the most honest, the most true. He lost his voice, but he taught me to find mine. I love you, Daddy. And I know you love me too. I hear it in the silence between us, where words don't matter and only hearts can speak. Tears streamed down my face. I pulled Emma close and held her as the sun painted the sky in shades of gold and pink. In that moment, I felt complete peace. I had lost my voice, but I had gained something far more precious, the knowledge that love transcends words, that sacrifice creates meaning, and that being a father isn't about what you say, it's about what you do. She had been chosen as valedictorian, and as she took the stage to give her speech, I felt pride explode in my chest. She had grown into a remarkable young woman, confident, compassionate, driven. Before I talk about our class and our future, Emma began, I want to talk about my hero. When I was 8 years old, my father saved someone's life. He threw himself in front of bullets and lost his voice forever. People called him a hero, but I knew the truth, he was already a hero. He was a hero every morning when he woke me up with a smile, even though he was exhausted from working 2 jobs. He was a hero every time he attended my school events, read me stories, wiped my tears. The shooting didn't make him a hero, it just showed the world what I always knew. My father taught me that true communication comes from the heart, not the mouth. He taught me that sacrifice is love in action. He taught me that being silent doesn't mean being weak. She paused, looking directly at me. Daddy, you can't hear my voice from the stage, but I know you can hear my heart. Thank you for everything. Thank you for teaching me to be strong. Thank you for showing me what real love looks like. I am who I am because of you. The audience erupted in applause, but I barely noticed. I was too busy crying tears of pure joy, watching my daughter shine, knowing that everything I had been through was worth it for this moment. It became a reminder that heroism isn't always loud and celebrated. Sometimes it's quiet and unnoticed, a father working multiple jobs, a parent sacrificing their health for their child's happiness, a person who steps in front of danger without hesitation. I never got my voice back. The damage was permanent. But I learned that voices come in many forms. My voice was in Emma's laughter, in the families helped by the foundation, in every life touched by my story. Years passed, and Emma went to college, then graduated, then started her own nonprofit helping children who had lost parents. She became my voice in the world, spreading the message her mother and I had tried to teach her: love is the most powerful force in the universe, and it doesn't need words to change lives. On quiet evenings, I still visited Sterling Industries to see my statue. I would stand there, looking at the bronze figure frozen in a moment of sacrifice, and I would remember. Remember the fear, the pain, the moment I thought I might die. But mostly, I remembered Emma's face when she danced with me at that father-daughter dance. I remembered Victoria's tears of gratitude. I remembered every hug, every smile, every moment of connection that proved words were never necessary. I am David Chen, the silent guardian. I lost my voice, but I found my purpose. I can't speak, but my life speaks volumes. I took bullets meant for someone else, and in losing my voice, I learned the most important lesson of all: love needs no voice, no words, no sound. It only needs action, courage, and a heart willing to sacrifice everything for others. And that's a language everyone can understand.